Okay, going to look at enhancing a sports image. These techniques will work with almost any image, but it's very good for sports or rugby, etc. It's a way to enhance the background, to create the nice creamy background that you might get with the likes of a 300 or 400 2.8 lens. So I'm just going to open this into Photoshop. Um, Looking at the image, a couple of things need done. The face needs brightened, this arm needs darkened, so I can deal with those very quickly with my actions. So there's one there, brighten 15%. So there's a layer that is brightened by 15% that is blacked out by a black mask. B3 allows me to paint at 30% opacity with a nice soft edged brush, and I'm now just going to paint more light into his face. And I'm just going to blur the edges of that. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur, maybe about 150 pixels on that. I'll just do that again. Filter, Gaussian blur. Now if you want to see the actual hole in the mask, there it is. The blurring has now made it really, the transition from the areas that are affected to the areas that are not is really quite soft. But it is, we've lost a lot of the effect of it. So I'm just going to do a levels adjustment and bring up the highlights on that maybe a wee bit more. Oops, click on the RGB channel. Before, after, happy with that. Flatten image, and I will just play one now to darken the arm. You can now use this object selection tool. Let's see if it does a job of just selecting that arm and shoulder. Yeah, perfect. So now I can just go B3 with a soft edged brush. Command D to deselect, and there's that arm nicely darkened. Latin image. So we're going to make this background really nicely and blurred. So if we just click on the object selection tool and up here select subject, it has done a pretty darn good job of selecting the athlete, but you don't want to be blurring all this. You want to be blurring up to about there. So if I hold the shift key and I use the rectangular marquee tool, I can just bring that up. Oops, what's going on now? I'm using a mouse, but it's my mouse pad is sitting on the on top of the Wacom tablet. So let me just try that again. Using the marquee tool and adding to selection, I'm just going to bring that up to there. And that means that those areas will not be affected by this additional blur. I could probably also just select that little bit in the middle there. So you can see if I hold the Q button for quick mask, it is the area in red that we're going to be dealing with. So I'll just hit Q again, and I'm going to do a duplicate layer, not Command J in this case, because if I do a Command J with a selection made, then I'm just going to copy the bit that's selected. Now I need to go edit, cut, and we have now removed, you can see over here in the layer palette what we've done. We have removed everything else. So if I now go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and type in say 35 pixels, that's maybe too much, 24. So there is the effect of a 24 pixel blur, but look what it has done. It has blurred over the edges of the athlete, and that is the sort of image that you often see in competition, and to be quite frank, it's a mess. It's never going to do anything. But the trick is, now that we have blurred the background, we just simply go to edit, paste, where are we? Paste special, paste in place. And now we have brought in the area that was selected before. So we've now got back to our sharp edges. Look at the hair. There's no problem up at the hair because select subject made a pretty darn good selection of the athlete. So if I merge that down with the blurred layer, we've now gone from that to that, and we've kept the sharp edges of the athlete. Now, what I would also do to finish this off is I would certainly be trying to desaturate that red there. These guys always tend to stand right in line for your lens while these guys are competing. So I would be probably using content aware fill or something to get rid of this guy and just simply desaturating the red there. I still think that his face could do with a little bit more brightening, so I will just brighten by 15% again, B3 for 30%. Give it a couple of passes. If I hit 2 for 20% now, I'll just show you what we get on the mask. So if I hold the Option or Alt key, there's the mask. We're now going to blur that. The bigger the hole, the more you're going to blur by. That looks to me like a 75 pixels blur, and we'll just do that again and again. So you can see how we've really softened the area that we're painting in light. And if you want a wee bit more, as I say, you just simply go to, I've selected the mask layer, and I'm just going to do a levels adjustment on it, and I can bring up the highlights on that mask, which makes it more visible. And it doesn't have to be 100%. If I go V7, we've now got 70%. And I can flatten image, Command 0 to make it fit the screen. And if I take a snapshot in the history section, I can show you we've gone very quickly from that to that. Hope that helps.